useful to the committee.
Thank you. Having done that, I will now go for introductions, starting from my far right. Senator Cherage, be on record and introduce yourself.
Good morning, Cherargei Kiprotich, Senator Nandi County, and a member of this committee.
Good morning. My name is Senator Isa Boy from Kwale County, and I'm a friend of this committee.
Good morning, Senator Mohamed Faki, Senator Mombasa County, host senator and a friend of the committee.
Good morning. I'm Engineer Godana Harugura, Senator Marsabit County, Vice Chair of the committee.
Fatuma Dulo, Senator Isiolo, and a member.
My name is Ledamo Lakina, Senator Narok County, and a member of this committee.
Senator Dr. Ochilo Ayako, Senator representing Migori County in Senate and a member of this committee.
Senator Jones Maruma, representing the great people of Taita Taveta, member of this committee.
Retired Justice Senator Mazayo, friend of the committee. Senator Professor Sam K. Ongeri, Chair of this committee. Secretariat, please introduce the members. Julius.
Thank you, Chairman. Julius Ariwamoi is my name, head of the Secretariat. With me, behind here is Joseph Mwangi and Yusuf Shimoi, clerk's assistants, Lucian Limo, media relations officer, Ali Salat, parliamentary budget office, Jeremy Chabari, legal counsel. We have Philip Kipkemboy, audio officer, and behind there we have Mr. Ngusia James, a sergeant at arms. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. The Auditor General.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm David Sumaili, Office of the Auditor General, liaison officer.
I'm Justus Okumu, Acting Director of Audit, Mombasa, Office of the Auditor General.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Mwinamo, Manager, Office of the Auditor General, Mombasa Hub. Thank you.
National Treasury.
Good morning, Chair and members. I am Cyrus Munywa from the National Treasury Liaison Office. I am an accountant.
Liaison Officer from EACC.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Siba Washuka from EACC, a liaison officer attached to this committee.
Governor, it's your turn now to introduce yourself and the members of your delegation.
Thank you, Chairman. Hassan Joho, the Governor of County 001.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Mariam Baruch, the CCM in charge of Finance Economic Planning.
Morning, everyone. My name is Aisha Abdi. I'm the Chief Officer of Finance, Mombasa County.
Good morning. My name is Godfrey Nyongesa Nato. I'm the County Executive Committee member for Environment, Waste Management and Energy, and I'm also the Acting CCM for Transport, Infrastructure and Public Works.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Khadija Shikeri, County Chief Officer, Health, Medical Services.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Juliana Cherera, Chief Officer in the Office of the Governor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anwar Ahmed. I'm the Chief Officer for ICT Mombasa County Government.
Good morning, Dr. June Mwajuma, Chief Officer, Lands, Planning and Housing.
Good morning. My name is Harpita Migosi, Director, Infrastructure and Public Works, Mombasa County.
Good morning. My name is Richard Abiero, Chief Accountant, Mombasa County.
Good morning, Chair. Honorable Fadili Mwalimu, Chairperson, Committee on Public Accounts Committee, Mombasa.
You are the PAC.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Most welcome.
Good morning. I'm Mohamed Hatimi. I'm the member of the Park Committee.
Honorable Kibwana Swale Baya, member of Public Accounts Committee.
Abdullah Khamis, Committee Clerk, Park Mombasa.
Thank you. First of all, let me welcome everybody to this sitting in very different circumstances, COVID-19. And Governor, this is a departure from the normal because you are one of the centers, the second epicenter in the Republic of Kenya. In 4 minutes, can you give us a summary what is happening in Mombasa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity. Let me begin by saying I concur with you that Mombasa has been identified to be an epicenter for COVID-19. But let me report to this committee that the county government of Mombasa had anticipated that we may get to dire situations that we are in today.
Because they are not switched off.
So, Mr. Chairman, let me begin by saying that when COVID was announced globally, we as a county sat and had anticipated that we may face dire challenges given the circumstances or the ecosystem of Mombasa. And true to your words, we've had our fair share of challenges. That is why you will recall we were amongst the first counties, if not the first county, to set up a satellite hospital outside our main facility. Now let me tell you, Mr. Chairman, that in Mombasa today we have 450. Now, Mr. Chairman, we have learned many lessons, and I'm glad I'm before this committee today. You've given me 4 minutes. But let me say that we are looking generally at the economic impact, the social impact that has dramatically changed the lives of the people of Mombasa.
So and I think you can, we only wanted to get a snapshot of what is happening.
I am going there, Mr. Chairman. That has dramatically changed the lives of the people of Mombasa. Even though as a county we are as prepared as we can be, but we are facing a lot of challenges, and it is an opportunity. I'm addressing the Senate, senior leadership of the Senate. I will not be doing justice to Mombasa if I didn't tell you our expectations and our challenges. There are many discussions, even outside COVID, that will have a bigger impact today, even on matters COVID going forward. For example, Mr. Chairman, we're discussing the formula. We are discussing how Senate can be able to support for devolved government to function efficiently. And therefore, let me tell it to you that you need to hear our side of the story, because the challenges are immense, the numbers are growing. We have challenges from the frontliners. For example, issue of allowances that we have not been able to resolve to date, and therefore I invite intervention probably from the Senate to see what can be done to be able to expedite so that our frontliners are taken care of. But in matters COVID, we are in control, we are on top of things, we continue to plan and be responsive to the challenges as they come.
Thank you. You can switch off. Thank you. Now, as housekeeping, members, we had a meeting in Mombasa, CPAC meeting in Mombasa on 6th September 2019 in Mombasa County Hall. And I'm glad that we were able to have a very successful meeting. So for purposes of this meeting, item number, if you can now go to the books before you, the public accounts books before you. we spent almost nearly a whole day discussing the basis for qualification, item number 10, that was covered. Item number 2, unsupported balances, that was covered. Item number 5, revenue not transferred to account revenue fund account, that was covered. And another huge element that was covered was on the lawfulness and effectiveness in use of public resources. Number 2, pending bills. And number 2.1, overcommitment. Number 2.2, pending bills. I just wanted to flag out those items so that we don't have to go back and repeat, because we have the records of what transpired at that time. So having said then that, the next thing that will be going is you go to page 3 on the exchequer releases. Auditor General. What happens, Auditor General, you read, the governor will reply, I'll go back to the Auditor General, and then we'll come back this side for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go straight to the paragraph 4.0 on exchequer releases. The statement of receipts and payments reflects Kenya shillings 8,542,439,306 in respect of exchequer releases for the year ended 30th June 2018.
Chair, I think we need to be on the same page. Where are we referring to? Exchequer releases?
Audit report, page 3.
Okay.
440. Audit query, page 3, 40 at the top. Have you got it? Please guide Senator Maruma to get it. Is everybody on the page? Senator Cherage, are you on the page? Yes, thank you.
Chair, on a point of order, apparently we are only given annexures. There are no written responses from the county. We only have annexures.
Secretariat will do that, not the governor. What don't you have?
And I wanted to follow keenly, so it is important that everybody is comfortable.
That's what I'm ensuring, that you are comfortable first.
Yeah, let them wait first.
The responses.
Chair, I think the response was sent to the group. Maybe if Senator Cherargei can look at it.
Yes, I think if you
in
have
soft.
your phone, WhatsApp is there. I can testify, I saw mine. And it was sent to the platform, the same platform that we share. I know how I'm giving you a hard copy. Is everybody on the page? Senator Maruma, are you on? Senator Chila Yako? Senator Lakina? Senator Fatuma Dulo? Senator Agura? Senator Faki? Senator Jumaboy? Senator Jerege? Excellent. The only point I noted is that in your replies, you have not followed the nomenclature of the audit query like the exchequer releases, you have denominated as 3-0 when it should be 4-0. I think that's the only note that the inconvenience that we should be looking at. Anyway, Auditor General, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll read again. 4.0 exchequer releases. The statement of receipts and payments reflects Kenya shillings 8,542,439,306 in respect of exchequer releases for the year ended 30th June 2018. The figure of Kenya shillings 8,542,439,306 comprises equitable share of Kenya shillings 8,154,000,000 and conditional grant to level 5 hospital of Kenya shillings 388,439,306. However, audit verifications revealed that there was no evidence of separate books of accounts maintained for conditional grant as set out in County Allocation Revenue Bill 2017. Further, evidence that accounting officer prepared and submitted quarterly performance reports to County Treasury with copies to the National Treasury and Ministry of Health on the utilization of level 5 grant as per County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2017 was not available for audit. In addition, records at the Department of Health indicate that only Kenya shillings 92,232,869 was disbursed to Coast General Hospital, resulting to an disbursed amount of Kenya shillings 296,206,437. It was therefore not possible to determine whether the funds were utilized towards sustaining the activities of Coast General Hospital as set out by the grant conditions. In the foregoing circumstances, the accuracy, completeness, regularity, and value for money of exchequer releases amounting to Kenya shillings 296,206,437 for the year ended 30th June 2018 could not be ascertained.
Governor.
Thank you very much, Excellency. So our response is the grants did not have designated accountants for the first half of the financial year. However, from 1st January 2018, separate books of accounts were maintained and the grant accounts were spent according to the grant conditions as per the attached schedule. Quarterly expenditure reports were also prepared and submitted to the CSCM Finance and Economic Planning on the due dates. Copies of the expenditure reports are hereby attached for your verification. We have appendix number 4 supporting the schedules. Quarterly reports and grant payment schedules. We said that the special purpose account was opened in January 2018. Before then, the county treasury used to pay the health department grant expenditures on its behalf. The 92,232,869,000 was transferred to Coast General Provincial Hospital Special Purpose Account, which is at CBK. And the balance of 296,206,437 was used to pay Coast General Hospital suppliers directly by the county treasury before the special purpose account was operationalized. Attached hereby is the grant payment schedule paid by the county treasury. A report on this expenditure forms part of the quarterly reports that we submit to the Treasury, the National Treasury, Office of the Controller of Budget, and the CRA.
Auditor General.
Mr. Chairman, we are largely satisfied with the response, except one aspect of it, which as regards preparation of separate books of accounts, which is not maintained, so they may need to explain why. And then on another aspect of it is why were the reports not availed during the audit?
So, Auditor General, do I have it from you that the quarterly performance reports have been, you are now satisfied with the query that was raised last time?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, these reports have now been provided.
And are you also satisfied with the attached list of payments paid on behalf of the Coast General of Suppliers to the county treasury, by the county treasury?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are satisfied. Our concern was where have, all of a sudden, where have they been fished from, or where did they get them from if they were not there at the time of the audit?
Governor, can you answer that?
Mr. Chairman, I think let us make one point clear, that the documents are not hidden. You may not have gotten them probably on time, which is something that I personally have undertaken even before this committee that will address. But the most important point the committee to note, it is that we've now provided all the information as it is so required. And therefore, we have responded adequately to the audit, Mr. Chairman.
Auditor General.
About fishing the documents, that I don't want to respond to that. We don't hide documents.
Auditor General.
Mr. Chairman, we are satisfied as audit as regards this query. Our concern is, why is it that they are not maintaining separate books of accounts?
I hear you. I'm coming to that.
Yes.
And the auditor, therefore, the outstanding audit query in this number
yes.
is why operate 2 accounts instead of 1 CRF account.
Separate books of account for the various.
What is your question?
We are saying they were not maintaining separate books of accounts for the various line items under exchequer. They are supposed to do that, but they are not. They have not. But at the time of audit, they have not done this. Even now, there is no evidence that they have separated them.
Senator Cherake, followed by Senator Oledama, Senator Chilo in that order. And please, let's now direct our remarks to the audit query.
Of course, Chairman, I have intention to do so. The Auditor General, one question. These people are fully aware that the financial year of 2017-2018 began in 1st July 2017. They stayed up to January 2018. Was there any violation of the same? And secondly, to the Governor and your team, these 296 million, 206,437, that could not be ascertained. And Chairman, I've been trying to look at the next years. I'm not getting a clear picture since the Auditor General has flagged the issue of separation of accounts. Does it mean, Governor, that 296 million, 206,437 million could not be properly utilized for the Coast General Hospital? And if you fail to maintain, and I think, I don't know whether your CCM is aware of section, the Public Finance Management Act, where there is a failure to prepare proper accounts or expenses as provided for, or any accounting issues, that it has penalties. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know whether I heard the auditor properly, because I was listening to the response by the Governor that said that at the time being, they did not have those accounts. They transferred the money to the CRF, and then later on, they paid the suppliers directly, which I'm looking at those annexes here. So at what point, I didn't really understand what you're not satisfied with, since it shows that the money was transferred and the bills were paid. I don't think I get the auditor.
Thank you, Chair. Just for to respond to Senator Ledema, we mean...
Wait until Chilo talks and then you can reply that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. If I understand the Governor and the auditor correctly, and I believe I understand both of them, the audit issues here are 2, that these documents were not availed to the auditor during the audit cycle. That was 30th June 2018 up to September, when the Auditor General signed off. There are certain activities that back and forth between the office of the county government of Mombasa and the office of the auditor. So my question is to Governor, since this is a requirement of law and a very strict requirement of law, why were your accounting officers unable to comply with the legal requirement that they avail these documents for audit? That is one. The second one, I heard the Auditor General say that up to date the Office of the Auditor General has not received evidence that a separate account is being maintained for the grants from national government, particularly regarding the Mombasa referral cost referral hostel. Now, the governor's response is that this was rectified and it's ongoing. Where is the truth, either from Auditor General or from Governor? Where is the truth? Has this been rectified?
Thank you. First of all, Auditor General, the query raised by Ledema Lekina and the Chilo, then Governor. You will respond accordingly.
Okay, Chair. Just to respond to about the opening bank account, the audit issue is books of accounts, not a bank account. Books of account, the law requires that they maintain separate books of account for each conditional grant. So what they opened was a bank account for grant, but now accountability is separating books of accounts, what you received, what you spend on, so that someone can track it. Thank you for, I think it responds to.
Governor?
First of all, Mr. Chairman, let me confirm before the committee that we have adequately responded to the two queries. But let me say this. At the time, first of all, given that this auditing process has a limited time, I'm informed by my team that by the time certain documents were being asked for was almost one week or so to the end of the period. So we did provide, probably not within that 1 week, but we did provide. But the point that I want to make, Mr. Chairman, county government, and I'm sure it's not only Mombasa, we continue to do all that we can to build capacity. And that can only be proved given how our audit queries now come before the committee. What we used to deal with 4 years ago has significantly improved. And that shall be proved going forward when you look now to the coming years in terms of audit queries. But the point is, we were holding funds that came through national grant on behalf of Coast General, not to be expended on any other function, but to be able to be used as a conduit to pay for them, which we did, and we are able to account for it. And we have tabled before the committee what the Coast General had requested for what to be paid for, which we did pay. So, Maria, maybe to add.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Clarification?
Point of order, Chair.
Clarification.
Thank you.
And then you. Okay.
Governor, I just heard that you said that you're holding the funds at that time. What is the current position now, given that?
The current position now is that we have a separate account for the conditional grant, separate books for the conditional grant, separate accountants that look after the account from the conditional grant. That is the situation as it is today.
As a follow-up, Auditor General, in the audit report of 2018-2019, is that the position?
Have they finished?
Mr. Chairman.
Update on it, 2018-2019.
That one I may need to confirm through our reports, because I may not recall exactly the current position.
I think, Chair, the question that we asked the governor was direct. It did need more than explanation. We asked a simple question that, have you ensured, as directed by the law, not the Auditor General, maintain separate books of account? The question was as simple as that. Since 1st January 2018, if the answer is yes...
Mr. Chairman, I've answered that question.
Let him finish.
Let me finish, Governor.
Let him, Governor.
Tutakuwa hapa mpaka jioni. What I'm just saying, Chairman, the separate book of accounts were as maintained from the 1st January of 2018 up to now, and if yes, have you included in your annexures or the documents that you have submitted before this committee? Thank you.
Governor.
Mr. Chairman, I am ready to sit here until tomorrow, kesho, kama vile Senator amesema. But let me say this. You wait and see the response. We are responding to a specific audit query. And I have said here before this committee that things are no longer the same. They are not what they used to be. We now have a separate account, separate bookkeeping for the conditional grant.
Is it your position, Governor, that at that time you had capacity problems? Is it your position that at that time when this information was required, you had a capacity problem?
Mr. Chair, if I may comment, and I think I clarified that in our responses. In the first half of the year, the circular from Ministry of Health requiring counties to maintain a special purpose account at the CBK for purpose of expensing the conditional grant had not been issued. So during that time, we were actually expensing for the Coast General Hospital through the county treasury. But as from 2018 January, when that circular from MOH was issued to counties, we opened a special purpose account and all the conditional grant, that is the 92 million, was expensed through the special purpose account at the CBK. So that is what we are explaining today. And from then on, we ensure that there is capacity building at the department, and we have accountants now who are maintaining separate books of accounts for the conditional grant.
So, Mr. Chairman, to confirm, we have a separate account and separate bookkeeping for the conditional grant.
Thank you. I think...
Chair.
Yeah, Senator Faki. No, not Fatuma.
Thank you, Chair. I had raised my hand earlier before, Senator Dulo. My concern is the use of the funds for the conditional grants. I believe maybe the conditional grants are meant to improve equipment and services at the hospital. But I can see from the expenditure that has been given, we pay for casual laborers, we pay for courier and postage, water and sewage charges, electricity, out of this conditional grant. Is this a prudent use of the resources that are made available for improvement, general improvement of facilities at the hospital?
Governor.
Thank you, Senator. I think for conditional grant, the main condition is actually those funds must go to the area that is. So a conditional grant for Coast General Hospital cannot be spent anywhere except at Coast General. But it does not have issues that you will not pay. So we don't pay for salaries, but the casuals are actually the extra personnel that we take on contract and we pay for them. So it can pay for anything, so long as the money is spent at Coast General only, nowhere else. That's the condition.
So, Mr. Chairman, as a county, we have a plan for Coast General. For example, we have a plan for dialysis machine. We have plans like we did for the open heart surgery. So what normally happens, we look at what we can use from our own resources. And where we find a shortfall, because conditional grant is not restrictive, we are guided by the board of Coast General on how it is spent. But generally, the plans of improving the standards of healthcare in Coast General, we are taking them on, and we are doing what we can. What conditional grants do for us is to fill in where we have a shortfall or deficit, and it is not restricted to any kind of expenditure. It could be for anything, as long as the management and the board at the hospital makes a decision.
Senator Fatuma Dulo.
Thank you, Chair. I think what I wanted to ask maybe the governor's side to answer the query, if they have an evidence that they have separated the accounts, maybe they can furnish the committee at a later date before we do the report.
We are happy to do that, Mr.
Of doubt.
Mr. Chairman, that one we can confirm because we already have our copies and there is evidence that they submitted the same to the National Treasury.
Senator Maruma, continue.
No, that was it.
Thank you. Senator Chila Yako.
Thank you. Just arising from what Senator Faki raised, whether the payment to casuals, paying sewages was a prudent utilization of funds. When I listened to the governor's response, his response was in summary this way, that there was nothing unlawful with their usage of that fund, because it is subject to the approval of the Board of Coast General Hostel. But the question Faki had asked, do you think, or in your own perception, do you think, or shouldn't you have used it in such a way of improving perhaps other facilities other than this recurrent expenditure? That was the question. It was not alleging that there was impropriety or unlawfulness.
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond, let me say this. Coast General Hospital is not the most improved, one of the most improved public facility in the Republic of Kenya. And this is as a result of deliberate investment the county has put into the facility. But obviously, you cannot have a world-class, there's no way I'm going to tell the Board of Coast General, because we have given you a modern cath lab machine, for example, we have given you the dialysis machines that you need, and therefore will restrict you to spend money on ensuring that you have a functioning sewerage system. There is no point to have a hospital that is world standards and then you restrict the board to deal with simple or basic issues of general cleanliness. So in my opinion, we have put bigger, much bigger investment than even the conditional grant on improving the facility. But then again, there are basic needs that require that facility to be able to undertake to maintain certain standards. I give you an example. We have in last fiscal year, the county in partnership, because I've been able to believe strongly the way to transform healthcare is where you can bring private sector and other partners on board. We have a standalone investment on cath lab that is over 300 million. It's not from the conditional grant. So as we strive to be able to improve the standards of the hospital in terms of service delivery, there are also certain hygiene standards that must be met. And therefore, if we don't have a functioning sewerage system, I don't see anything wrong for the management and board to decide to spend money on sewerage or on general cleaning. You know how important for a toilet in a hospital to be clean and what it means to the patients. So I agree. And that's why I want to reiterate on the point that even as a county, we have put a lot more, way a lot more in the Department of Health to be able to improve the standards.
Thank you. And I think we have our auditor, our park in Mombasa. What is your report? Have you seen the facility? Have you been able to look at it also? And what was your report, park, Mombasa?
Thank you, Chair. As per our report, Chair, in our recommendations, we have clearly stated that the accounting officer should let other county government entities to utilize their budgets and appropriate in accordance with the law.
I only wanted to put that input.
Yes, Chair, we made a site visit at the Coast General Hospital, and I can assure of what the governor is saying. We were at the Coast General, and everything is in order.
Thank you. I only wanted to just be satisfied that this particular audit query is already fulfilled. The only thing left, Governor, that you continue improving the capacity. We would have penalized you, like Senator Cherege said, for not following the law, but we understand clearly that this circular came from the Ministry of Health much later in the year, the financial year. Thank you. Item number 5.1. Do you want to say something about it? Because I've concluded it.
The Chairman, so that you know, Court General has done open heart surgery. In the next month, we're inviting you to be able, because you can enter a theater. Our plans is to do the first kidney transplant as Court General. So, Karibu,
Well,
Chairman.
You'll be following my footsteps. I was one of the few people with the late Professor Nelson Agwori who did the kidney transplant in Nairobi, in Kenyatta National Hospital. I'll be happy to see. That's my area of specialization. Thank you. Number 5.1.
Mr. Chairman, the 5.1, I think had been handled during the previous meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for that. 5.3.
5.3, business permits. Included in other county-owned generated receipts balance of Kenya shillings 3,168,434,397 under note 9 to the financial statements is revenue from business permits of Kenya shillings 509,931,894, which includes revenue of Kenya shillings 17,322,000 from liquor licensing, which falls under the mandate of the Liquor Control Fund. Information available indicates that during the period under audit, liquor licenses were applied and paid via e-citizen platform, which is controlled by the county treasury. However, there was no evidence that the funds were remitted to the Liquor Control Fund. In addition, Liquor Control Fund's financial statements for the year 2017-2018 reflect a receivable of Kenya shillings 17,322,000 from the county treasury, although the liability has not been reflected in these financial statements, and it is not clear how it has been accounted for. Consequently, the accuracy and regularity of business permits of Kenya shillings 509,931,894 for the year ended 30th June 2018 could not be confirmed.
Governor.
Thank you, Excellency. So our response, we said the money was banked into the Executive County Revenue Fund account in order to conform to PFM Act 2012, Section 109, which requires banking of all revenues from liquor licenses to CRF account as the revenues were collected through the e-citizen platform. We, however, did not disburse the funds to Liquor Control Fund, as the fund was undergoing structural changes to have the board and relevant committees in place that will then put a budget and request for utilization of the funds. We, however, confirmed that these funds were intact in the account as of 30th June 2018. Kenya shillings 15 million was then transferred to the Liquor Control Fund account in the year 2018-2019.
Continue. These are members of the committee and the budget.
Okay. Yes, Chair. So we have Appendix 5.3, which supports that evidence. The evidence of payment, the audit was conducted in accordance with international standards of supreme audit institutions.
May I request members to consult in low tones? Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I am independent of County Executive Mombasa in accordance with ISA 30 on Code of Ethics. I have fulfilled other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the ISAI and in accordance with other ethical requirements. Oh, sorry, I think those are comments for the Auditor General. They have just been mixed up, but I've given my response up to the 15 million, which was later transferred to the Liquor Control Fund account in the financial year 2018-2019. Thank you, Chair.
Auditor General.
Mr. Chairman, our concern regarding this paragraph is, why was the balance not reflected as such as a payable in the financial statements of that year? And have the funds been transferred to the fund?
Have you looked at the the reply and to confirm whether that money was transferred to CRF account?
Chair, the query was about accounting in the financial statement, that the collected revenue are paid and banked in the county treasury. The money was for the fund, and the fund is a separate entity. So in the financial statement of the county executive, it was supposed to appear as a payable, because already the fund had presented as a receivable. So this accounting entry from the side of the executive was missing up to until the report was finalized.
Chair.
Senator Ledama.
Chair, I just want to understand.
Senator Ochilo and then Senator Gura.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I want to understand clearly from the auditor and also from the governor, because what I heard from the governor's response is that the money was being collected and channeled straight to the CRF account. Now, I'm hearing the auditor raising an issue of the fund. Can you differentiate the two? Because the audit that we have here is for the executive. Does it also include the audit for the fund, or this is separate, so that we can be able to compare apples to apples?
Thank you, Chair. The fund prepares its own financial statements. The executive prepares its own financial statements, and we audit them separately. So in this particular financial year, the fund normally collects these legal licenses and reflects as their revenue. But in this particular financial year, their licenses were paid through the county treasury. So they were supposed, they had a liability to pay to the fund. So when they were preparing the financial statements, they were supposed to reflect that as they hold money of the fund. So it's shown as a payable, and the fund shows as a receivable from the county treasury. Thank you.
Chair.
It's just book entries.
It's a book entry.
Book entries.
Okay. Because I think, Mr. Chairman, if I can just get a final clarification, it would be good if we had the financial statement for the fund, because now we are looking at the financial statement for the executive, and we are not be able to see what you've reflected here. So it's a bit confusing as to whether you are auditing the fund or you're auditing the executive. From the financial statement that we have, you've audited the executive. It would have been easier if we can compare apples to apples to see the two entries you're talking about.
Chairman. Senator Chilo and Senator Gula, the Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, there are two issues that are sticking out here that need to be ironed out. One is the Office of the Auditor General reckons that there was no evidence at the time of the audit. So it would be important for us as a committee to know if now the Office of the Auditor General has received evidence of transfer of that money. At the time of the audit, the money went to the county accounts, and there was no evidence that it was transmitted or sent to the fund. So as at today, do we have information or verification that that transfer took place as indicated by Governor? Then second and lastly, to me, this audit issue is not just about accounts. It's also about whether the liquor board was functional. I'm sure it serves a purpose, a regulatory purpose in the entire Mombasa County. If there is no evidence that it received funds, perhaps I could hear from the governor how it was now able to perform its function, because its function is a service to the public and also a service that is offered by the county government.
Senator Gura, and then over to you, Governor, after Senator Gura.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is just to seek clarification, because my understanding is that, maybe the auditor will correct me, is that whatever money counties collect must go through CRF. That's right.
It is exempted for funds created.
If the funds collected itself?
Yes, exactly.
But now if the county collected, it has to. just to surrender to CRF. Then, as you have said, it appears in the books as money for the funds, then they pay it out to the fund.
They collected that money that was supposed to have been collected by the fund, but they did not reflect in their books of account, the executive, that we owe the fund some 17 million that they collected on their behalf.
Okay. Okay. Then from the reply of the governor, that's what I want to connect the two. He's saying that the reason why they did not transfer to the board is that the board has issues. The committees, it says there were structural changes going on, so they could not transfer it to them. So I think maybe what you just need to know is, was that money there and was it transferred? If the governor can give us evidence that it was transferred, then I think that's the way to go.
Senator Faki,
Chair,
before Senator Faki asks a question, Senator Fatuma, may I require the other two senators, Senator Charles Kibiro and Senator Irungu, to be on record? Be on record.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Charles Kibiro, Senator for Kirinyaga and a member of this committee.
Senator Irungu Kangata, or Senator for Muranga, a member of this committee.
Now proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Mine is a clarification. After the end of the financial year, this money has been collected by the liquor licensing fund. Is it transferred to the county revenue account, or it remains in their books and they utilize it for the purposes of improving whatever they are doing with the fund? Governor?
So, Mr. Chairman, first of all, let me say that as a government, as executive, we have a responsibility to ensure prudent management of resources. And therefore, at that time, it was expected that there would have been a request from the fund and to be able to expressly indicate to us the purposes of the fund. Even that aside, Mr. Chairman, at that time, the fund board had expired, and also they were undertaking some recruitment on staff. And before that period, we were, as a county, supporting the board with our staff and had given them a period of time to be able to build capacity so that they can undertake some of those functions by themselves. So by the closure of that fiscal year, I know for a fact the fund had no board, and the fund was undertaking some recruitment processes, and also they had not expressly requested that money to be put to use for a specific purpose. But subsequently, the money was transferred when the board was in place and when the fund was properly functioning. So as we sit here, I can confirm that their monies were disbursed to them as it is required.
Governor, I think the issue is basically you received money into CRF account. Where did you indicate in your statements, financial statement, that these were payables to the liquor fund?
So, Chairman, if I may respond to that, thank you. It was an omission on our side, and we acknowledge that we did not capture it as a payable at the end of the financial year in the financial statements. However, we have since rectified that, and any monies that are due to the liquor fund but in the CRF account at the end of the financial year, we usually capture it as a payable. So we acknowledge that that was an omission on our part. However, just to respond to Senator Faki, liquor licensing, the payments are usually done through the e-citizen account. I noticed that the Auditor General mentioned that we have control over that account. As a county treasury, we have no control over the e-citizen account. We don't even see the statements. So what happens once the monies enter into the e-citizen account, once the reconciliation is done at National Treasury, the funds are then transferred directly from the e-citizen account to the CRF account. But we do not transfer these funds back to the liquor operations account unless they request for it. So that is the
Senator Maruma, Senator Cherage, in that order, quickly, so we can finish this item.
Yeah, so Chair, I think the question we need to be asking now is some sort of proof that the money moved from the CRF account to the fund. Proof would be in form of a bank statement or something like that, so that then this query is quashed.
Senator Cherage?
Chair, I think this matter needs to be put to rest since the CCM has accepted the liability, and therefore I invite your ruling as per Article Section 196. Judge, I'm just making a comment. You are not yet ruling. Can I finish?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. It is good to go on record. What I'm just saying, because we are listening, Chair, and we must make comments, she has accepted that there was an omission on their part. The law does not exist on the vacuum. So, Chair, I invite you under Section 196 to exercise your powers and give us a ruling on this since the CCM has accepted. Kindly.
Senator Chilayako.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also persuaded that the superficial and technical part of the audit query has been addressed, but there was a question I'd asked, and perhaps the governor can respond to it. During this period of no board, no staff, funds being at the CRF, how were the services of this liquor fund being rendered? How were they rendering their services? Because I believe they are an organization you set up for a purpose, and they have certain services they perform. That is why you allocate to them money. They bring your budget to you, you include it in your budget, it's approved by the assembly. So how, during this period, because to me that is the real audit query that the public would want to understand, those liquor fellas or non-liquor fellas, how are they getting services during the period?
Governor?
So, Mr. Chairman, at that time, we had a skeleton team at the fund itself, and we had donated some of our staff from the county for a period of time to be able to support them to function until they get to a point where they have a fully functional board. And Mr. Chairman, you realize that one of the important functions of the liquor licensing board is to regulate and even run campaigns on alcoholism and drug abuse and what have you, and youth empowerment. So, and also on matters enforcement, you will realize it's sometimes you even co-share the function with national government. For example, we would need police to be able to do some enforcement and ensuring that people adhere to certain standards. So there were functioning on borrowed staff from other departments, and they had skeleton staff that for me was not sufficient. That's why they needed to do what? To recruit. So now which they have done, and now they have funds that supports their function, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Let me now rule that this is a financial statement, is a very crucial document that will show receivables and payables. And therefore, an omission of a payable, I think that relates to those who prepared the financial statements, and that issue should be corrected. It should be done promptly, and since there was no money lost, confirm to us that there was no money lost.
Mr. Chairman, there was not a single cent that was lost, and the correction has since been done.
Okay, there are no other issues. We move to now on the basis for conclusion on lawfulness and effectiveness in use of public resources, sections of this report, and on budget absorption. Budget controls and budget absorption, 1-1. Auditor General.
Yeah, paragraph 1.1, budget control and performance. 1.1, budget absorption. The County Executive of Mombasa had an approved budget estimates of Kenya shillings 12,513,800,701, voted for the financial year 2017-2018 comprising Kenya shillings 3,754,140,210 for development and Kenya shillings 8,759,660,491 for recurrent expenditure. The county executive's actual expenditure amounted to Kenya shillings 11,258,288,712, resulting to net under absorption of Kenya shillings 12,555,11,989, or 10% of the voted amount as summarized below. Now we have a table there. The overall under absorption of the approved budget of Kenya shillings 12,555,11,989, or 10%, indicates that some development activities planned for the year were not undertaken. This may have had a negative impact on the delivery of goods and services to the residents of Mombasa County.
Governor.
Thank you, Excellency. So in our response, we said the under-absorption emanated from unrealized local revenues, thus the inability to fully implement the whole budget. However, the county has put in place measures and strategies to increase local revenue collection that will reduce our budget deficit. Comparatively, in the financial year 2015-2016, the budget absorption rate was 85% compared to 71% in the financial year 2014-2015. While for the financial year 2017-18, the absorption rate is 89%. The perennial delay in disbursement of funds from the exchequer also greatly affects the overall absorption, budget absorption. Thank you.
Auditor General.
Mr. Chairman, regarding this paragraph, we are only saying we are only recommending we keep it in view, but we are also asking what is the current rate of absorption, which is for 2018-2019, so that we can compare.
The absorption rate for 2018-19 was 91%, so there's a significant improvement, 91%.
Point of order, Chair.
Point of order, yes.
I think the auditor is diverting the question. What he should tell us is whether he's satisfied with the response by the county government. He should not ask about 2018-2019.
Auditor General, you're well advised now. We're asking questions and leave it to the members to interrogate that part of it. Just tell us whether you are satisfied with that response from the governor's side, and then we'll prosecute the rest of the other matters.
Mr. Chairman, we are on our side, we are satisfied.
Okay, then we move on.
If you are satisfied, then there is no query. We don't have to spend so much time.
No, Chairman,
Yes, Irungu.
Chairman, I beg to differ that once the auditor is satisfied, the committee becomes satisfied. I strongly believe that that's an opinion by the auditor. We should also be given an opportunity to say whether we are satisfied or we are not. Mr. Chairman, from where I sit, personally, I'm not satisfied with that answer. For two reasons. Number one, counties have been demanding that their revenue should not be, the revenue they get from the national government should not be cut down. In fact, there's a huge debate currently in Senate concerning reduction of money.
Please.
But now, once we send this money to you, from this query, it appears you don't absorb. Number two, related to this, your answer is...
This is a non-issue.
Allow me.
No, we cannot.
No, you answer.
No. Give him
you answer.
He's a member of the committee.
No, you answer.
He's entitled to ask that question.
No, your answer is that there was low revenue collected from your own source revenue base. The question is, why did you come up with such kind of projections if you knew you cannot get that point? For me, I think this question remains material. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Agura.
Chair, I think we don't need to mix up issues. We are talking of whether the counties are absorbing what they are given. But as we sit now here, I know very well counties have not gotten their share for June of this year. So when they'll be audited as of 30th, there will be outstanding money, maybe the last quota of about maybe what is now the 10%. You cannot absorb what you have not been given. So I think it's very clear that maybe what the governor can tell us is by the time this audit was done, did you receive the whole amount of the equitable share for that year?
Chair.
And Chair, and then before the governor replies, and the governor will reply.
Chair, I think I want to agree with the CCM partly on the issue of delayed disbursement by the National Treasury. It has become an elephant in the room. But I don't agree when they say unrealized local revenue, because it is slightly more than 300 million that you didn't meet the target. Here you are talking about 1.2 billion. And I've seen in the annual development plan, there are quite a number of projects that were not implemented, including like health issues and many others, ECDs and many others. So the question is, why did you not absorb 1.2 billion, yet it had been appropriated through your budgets that you had projected for? Does it mean that you had not done due diligence in terms of prioritizing issues in Mombasa County? And I think that is very important, because Senator Irungo Kangata is very aptly, because we want to see counties being given money, they should be able to absorb that money. Yes.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm just asking a
Before the
question.
governor.
Just hold on.
Chair. No, I'm just asking a question. I'm just saying,
it's okay. It's
is
my
there
turn now.
ability to observe?
It's my turn.
No, you are not chairman, Ledama. I only know one chairman. Why are you ordering us around? Are we your small kids? Wachana now.
My question, you are
Chair,
Can you address the chair?
Chair,
Yes.
Can I
Can you
ask
address
a
the
question?
chair?
It's my turn.
Yeah, you
Have you
given
finished?
me. Yes.
Thank you.
Can you address?
Senator Chilo, then it's Senator Kibiru, and Olekina.
Thank you. Chair, there is something that I'm getting lost a bit. This is budget absorption. And I just want to understand, when we are talking about budget absorption, it means that the monies were actually received. Is the auditor, or is this audit query premised upon the fact of actual receipts? Chair, can you protect me? I can't be heard. Chair, there is loud consultation there. I can't be heard.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Chair,
I shall be very firm now.
Budget absorption is premised upon actual receipts. But the way this question is worded, the amount of money not absorbed also includes what was not received. So I want the clarification of the auditor as to the figure that has been included here of 1.2. Was it from actual receipts, or it is also a combination of what was not collected and lumped together as budget absorption? Then, Chair, just to indicate to my neighbor here, if you will, when you mentioned that the auditor ought to have been satisfied, it did not, in my view, mean the committee. It just meant the auditor having been satisfied, he shouldn't have been asking more questions. But committee members, in my view, ought to ask, because we need clarification for our report writing.
Senator Charles Kibiru.
thank you, Chair. I don't want to get involved in some of the issues coming up. But, Chair, having been in this committee for long, and having agreed that we do bring somebody from the Treasury, I think it is only fair that we give the gentleman from the Treasury to try and see whether he can satisfy Senator Kangata's issues of absorption and disbursement. Because why we brought the Treasury here, if I remember well, is because of this issue of late disbursement. And so that counties are unable to absorb the monies that are budgeted for. I think we would ask the Treasury gentleman to also to indulge him, so that he can also clarify whether what is coming out is true. That's why we brought him as an arbiter.
Yes, and while I'm going to call upon the National Treasury to give an input, I think let's look at that chart so that we are all informed. In that chart, there's budgeted allocation, there's the actual, and there's the under absorption, National Treasury.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and the members. In relation to the disbursement due to Mombasa County Government in 2017-2018, the county government has correctly reported having received 100%. It would cast aspersion to this committee if the county government had reported the amount due as a receivable, but as you can see from their financial records, they have correctly reported that they received the total amount due to them. And that is the position that I have from the National Treasury.
Senator Ledama.
Thank you, Chair. I think to put these matters into perspective and to try and clarify issues here, it is imperative that we don't mix two things. This issue of revenue allocation to counties is very emotive. So I'd like to get that one out of this record because we're dealing with a particular matter here that has got to do with the issue of an absorption of revenue. Governor, tell us, during the year in question, I note here that there was a 10% under absorption of revenue. Treasury has indicated that they submitted all their money. Can you maybe give us in details how you operate in the county, when you receive the money, and also when you pay your bills? And what happens with money or projects that have been budgeted for, but maybe because of what you had said earlier on, the delay in the disbursement of money, what happened to those projects? Are they carried forward? Is there a supplementary budget which is done? So that we don't mix issues.
Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, let me confirm that indeed we did say, we put it on record that we did receive full funding for that fiscal year. But the point for the committee to note as to when we received the final disbursement, I can tell you, I'm informed, and I remember we received after the financial year had closed. So obviously, when you receive money after the systems have been shut, there's very little you could do at that time. And given that we have no control over IFMIS, we purely have to depend on other government entities. But let me say this, Mr. Chairman. Devolution is supposed to be progressive. I happened to be a member of parliament at that time when we were making devolution, when we were dealing with this new dispensation. And the wisdom around all of us was that we must create another level of government that will be responsive to the demands of the people. So when we talk about formula and resources and how we use them, let me assure you, there is tremendous progress. Even you look at the percentages. That is why I am here, even though Senator Olekina has said that's another subject. It's emotive. There is no way Mombasa would have reached where we are today if it were not for the devolution and the resources that we had gotten. But to imagine that we are not functioning is a myth. Mr. Chairman, today in Mombasa, like I said, we do open heart surgeries. We're geared towards doing kidney transplant. How could we have achieved that if it were not for resources, if it were not for devolution? So it is my humble opinion for all of us to note that there's a reason as to why we created another level of government. And let's not underestimate the demands of other people, because some of us could be in comfort zones. Fact of the matter is that we have to ensure devolution functions. We have to ensure that the functions that are devolved are adequately resourced so that we can live the dream and the wisdom of this new constitution. You can tell me about not being able to collect enough revenue. Mr. Chairman, we had not anticipated we'll have SGR challenges. So many businesses in Mombasa had to shut down. We lost so much. All we had wanted to do, and I would hoped that this Senate will help us to find ways to cushion the people of Mombasa, to diversify their economy, to bring them back on track. You don't expect me to milk a cow that is already dead.
Governor, I hear your sentiments.
No, but let me finish, Mr. Chairman. No, it's very important.
Tone
So
down.
don't come here. I'm sorry, Kangati, with all due respect, you're my brother. We're from the same cause, we believe in the same cause. But let me tell you, you cannot underestimate the gains devolution has achieved so far. Let's not wish them away. Let's ensure collectively, and I know some of us could speak from a selfish perspective, which is right. As a politician, eventually they say politics is local. If you're gaining, you're gaining. But try and ensure that as you gain, others also don't suffer.
Okay.
Walk along in the success story with your brothers and sisters. So it is important that you feel us. It is important that you understand us, where we're coming from. But here we are, and all we want to do is to partner with you as a Senate to be able to better the lives of the Kenyan people. It's as simple as that.
Okay, Governor Joe.
Yeah.
Agura.
Chair, I'd
Senator
like
Agura.
to, my question is to the auditors, or is an advice, because I've seen in all the audit reports, there is the issue of, budget absorption. It's good, we need to monitor this. But you should also know that when you are doing this budget absorption, you should have a table of even showing when these funds are being received. What have they received by the time you're auditing 30th of June? What have they received? Because, yeah, you don't indicate that. I've seen in all the other reports. That is, you see, this is just a theoretical analysis of things when you take into account the facts. Even Treasury also has to tell us when are they sending the last tranche. Because as we sit here, I know very well the June tranche has not been sent. Then we are going to get this kind of reports of under-absorption. So
Point of information, Mr. Chairman. Point of information. Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to be specific, at that time, by the closure of the fiscal year, we were still anticipating to receive roughly about 1.3 billion. So we had not received by the time we were closing the financial year.
Yeah, so I think that's an understanding which you need to carry
We
across.
have 1 meeting. Yes.
Chair,
I think
a
that has
question.
been addressed.
A question.
I see Cherege first and then Irungu.
Governor, I appreciate what you are saying, but our question was very simple. There was under-absorption. I wanted the Treasury, before they speak, how long period they give when they release money after the end of the financial year. But my question, you should have included in your response, you have complained that there is loss because of SGR and many other problems that Mombasa County is facing. You are not assisting this committee and the people of Mombasa County by telling us the strategies that you have put in place to ensure that you seal that shortfall of under collection of revenue. Are there any strategies, are there any plans to mitigate the effects that SGR has been brought? And therefore, we wouldn't know what Governor, and finally, because I've heard you, I don't know what you meant by creating another level, but also in the aspect of devolution, even as we push for costing of funds, functions to follow resources, we also need accountability and transparency at that level. So the question was the strategies. Of course, everybody here supports the devolution, but we need accountability and transparency in management and prudent use of resources of counties. Thank you, Chair.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Kangata, let him first of all, and then you come to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my question is on this table. The first column is about the budgeted allocation. The other one is on the actuals. The third one is the under absorption, and the last one is absorption rate in percentage. So my question is, this one titled under absorption, is it in respect to the actual, or it is in respect
the whole thing into in totality as to what projects have been done, what other projects are supposed to be completed within that time? Because we know we had another county here, I think 2 days ago, last week, that said that certificates that they had paid were the only ones which they could be able to justify, so that we are able to understand how we are proceeding with this matter.
Let me now.
You can see the list. So, Chair, I'd just like to assist my colleagues. and I hope the auditors will confirm. What we have here is a table showing, I think in the simplest form, what the county of Mombasa budgeted. That's the first one. Then what they actually received and how they spent it. So the difference under absorption, what's called under absorption, actually is a misrepresentation. That's where the confusion is coming from, because under absorption is a matter of what you had and you could not utilize. What is missing here, auditor, should be a column saying actual receipts by 30th June. That's what is missing. If you had that column, then it should be, what you'll be comparing is what has actually been received against what has been expended. That is where under absorption comes in. But it's not against the budget which has not been fully received by that time. So I think next time, to avoid the kind of confusions we are getting into, let's have a column saying actual receipts by 30th June. Then you compare that one with the actual expenditure. Then you can know absorption and absorption at that point. That is where the problem is coming from.
Senator Kibiru, and then Senator Faki.
Thank you, Chair. If you look at the annex and the financial statement of the county assembly, marked number 5, and its links consolidated reports of the financial statement for the year ended June 30th, 2018. You look at they have the original adjustment, financial budget, actual comparable. If you look at the figure down there on the total of the actual, is the same figure that the auditor has just lifted from the financial statements prepared by the county assembly, signed by the people concerned in the county assembly. They have just lifted 11,258,288,712 and just put it on the table. That these are the actual that had been received by June 30th, 2018, when they closed their books. But those are the figures that are in the table. That's the figure. That's the same figure which is under the table. Yeah? So that's what we are saying. They are saying that they actually received. So what the auditor should be telling us, whether they just picked this figure and picked on the budget and created it as a column.
Auditor, obviously, if you look at page 1 of the financial statement of receipts and payments, and like Senator Kibiru has said, the actual amount received in that year was 11,258,288,713, which is also reflected 713 year 712. 1 shilling here or there doesn't make any difference. So what message are you passing through before I give to Governor to Southern Afaki to ask, and you clarify these points?
Mr. Chairman, this table is actually based on two things: the financial statements as presented and on the approved budget. Because we have to compare these figures against other documents, approved budget, and also the records showing actual receipts and expenditure. So from there, we get the actual figures and also the budget. So we would say the figures are lifted from the financial statements. That is true. But in future, we'll also try to confirm that the figures as presented here, the actual figures, receipts are actually, we create a column for actual receipts, yes, versus the expenditure, as has been advised by the honorable member.
That matter is now settled. Anything?
Chair, I just wanted to inquire from the auditor, in making this comment that there was under collection of revenue and under absorption. Did you consider the fact that 2017, 2018, there was a general election, and immediately after that, there was some form of paralyzation in the economy, whereby even KRA was not able to meet its annual targets as a result of that paralyzation caused by the elections and uncertainty in the government?
Mr. Chairman, Our audit actually maybe does not take care of the political environment and all that. We only look at the records as they are the figures.
Thank you. I think this matter is settled. I don't want any more queries on this because...
No queries, just information.
Because under the subsequent discussions, you'll be having the opportunity to look at the budget analysis, and on 1.3, you'll be able to have the opportunity to look at the under collection of revenue, and therefore you can express your opinion. But as for this, the presentation, I think take note of what has happened, that in the presentation of these documents, you give us an indication what is the actual amount received as of 30th of June of the audit year. Governor, do you have anything to say, or I want to move on to the next one?
I think, Chairman, just two issues. One, of course, at that time we were facing some difficult political terrain, which obviously is a cause of many challenges that we've had to deal with. But to respond to my brother very quickly, the senator from Nandi, on what it is that we're doing to cushion the people, right? If I got it correct. What strategies do we have? That is why we were able to make a decision to join the BBI movement to create political stability, in that we can engage at both levels of government on measures and policy realignments that will enable us to diversify on the economy of Mombasa. Today we are speaking on creation of special economic zone in Dongo Kundu, funded by the national government and partners. We as a county are creating our own special economic zone that we are funding to be able to cater or to fill into the losses that we have undergone over the period. So there are specific strategies that has brought us together in a bilateral engagement with national government.
Point of order, Chair. Chair, although that answer is very interesting, it is the next audit query. So
let me finish
because... Okay, I think let's do it this way. Let's do it this way.
Point of order. My question was simple. On the issue of, he had raised the issue of revenue loss. I know it's an item that will come later, but it was just the strategies that I know you...
I am giving you the strategies.
I know you are a good
strategy number one is
Governor,
to deviate from...
Can I finish?
But I was...
Can I finish?
There are gay.
What I'm just saying,
I was on the floor,
no, I'm just finishing what I'm saying, Chair.
But I'm the one who's...
What I'm saying, Chair, was asking simply, he had complained that there is a slow disbursement by the National Treasury, which I agree. But on the issue of the revenue collection that had not been put in place, I had not asked about BBI. I'm not.
You asked us about.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, Governor, I'd like us to make progress. That issue has been canvassed. We have understood. The auditors know. For clarity of this committee, you need to include that column of actual disbursement by 30th June. I think we are moving. And also, when the chair started this meeting, he said that there was earlier engagement with Mombasa, county in Mombasa, and there are some areas which have been covered. We got him right. And from now, the next point, according to the chair, is that we move to missed development goals 2.2. Auditor.
Missed development goals. Audit review of the program-based budgets of the key priority departments revealed that the following intended project activities were not implemented during the financial year, in line with the set strategic priorities as detailed below. So we have a table there under the listing of five departments. There's a column for strategic objective, and the last column, interventions which are not implemented. Now, the management has attributed the non-implementation to lack of funds, although budget allocation to the departments should have been as per the program-based budget. The county government should ensure resources are allocated in line with the set strategic priorities as outlined in the county fiscal strategy paper. Any deviation must be approved by the county assembly based on prevailing circumstances, and such should be published and publicized in line with Section 108 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. This may have affected such delivery to the residents of Mombasa County.
Governor?
Under the missed development goals, the management response. Under the health services, as per the schedule that was prepared by the Auditor General, our response is due to constraint of funds, we had to reprioritize our ADP development projects. Thus, they were dropped since Chuda is close to Coast General Hospital and Likoni has low maternal mortality. All the 9 health centers have been upgraded, that is Mvita, Miritini CDF, Bokole CDF, Jomvu Model, Mlaleo, Mbuta HC, Kadarboy HC, Kongoea, and Shikadabu. Number 2, under the Youth, Gender and Sports Department, the intervention was to improve 10 social halls in the county and to establish a one-stop shop for the youth in Tononoka Hall. Our response to that query was that 8 social halls have been improved, that is Chuda, Mikindani, Chaani, Changamwe, Likoni, Majengo, and Freetown, and a one-stop shop is in the current financial year budget. Under the Department of Water and Natural Resources, the intervention was the purchase of 2 water bowsers, laying of 3-kilometer pipeline, and the renovation and construction of 10 toilets. Our response to that audit query was 4 water bowsers purchased, serving 130 tanks in the villages. The connection from Nyali Bridge to Coast General Hospital, which is a dedicated line, is completed and is in use. These are all works which are under the World Bank water project, which is still ongoing. Ablution blocks have not yet started. This has been delayed by ownership title documents and subsequently NEMA licenses. These have now been resolved and we have provided in the 2021 budget. Under the Department of Lands and Housing, the intervention was 3 planned satellite cities, Makirunge Eco City, Jomvu City, Shikadabu Petro City, and purchase of land. And our response to that query was that due to resource constraints, the county could not do all the 3 cities, but we settled on the Jomvu City to do Meritani Industrial Park. The county has partnered with Trademark East Africa, as at now the feasibility study and master plan is ready for the industrial park, and we are waiting for the licensing and gazettement of the project by September.
I set the stage for the change in mindset. And I challenged all of us.
Yes. So that we have a brief lunch interval. Lunch is served here. I hope so. Yes. Lunch is served here. So you are not going outside this room. You are within the precincts of this room. And therefore, Governor, you will have lunch with your people there. We'll have a small lunch for 30 minutes. We come and finish this matter. Thank you. Sir John.